Okay, good morning all. In the last lecture, we have started with the transition curves. In that, we have seen the different types of the transition curve, that is the spiral, cubic parabola, lemniscate. Okay, this curve that we have seen in the last lecture. And in that lecture, I have told that the spiral curve is the most suitable curve for the transition curve. Okay, spiral curve is most suitable curve. Just this curve we have seen in the last lecture. I'm told that the spiral curve is the ideal curve considered as a transition curve. Okay, the spiral curve is the considered as a ideal curve for transition curves. The next part you will see now. We have drawn this diagram in the last lecture as well, and we are here. The length of the transition curve should be determined as the maximum of the following three criteria. We have seen in the last lecture, we have written the formulae as well in the last lecture. On these three formulae, we decide how much the transition curve length should be provided. Okay, we calculate the transition curve length depending on these formulas, and out of these three formulae, whichever gives the maximum value of the transition curve, length of the transition curve, that will be considered as the length. Okay, out of these three. So we have seen the first formula. For that, we have written this formula. First, second, and I think we have come to this point. We have written the empirical formulae as well. So depending on these three, okay, depending on these three, we decide which should be our length of the transition. What should be our length of the transition curve? So first formula that we have seen is the rate of change of radial or centrifugal acceleration. Then we have seen the rate of change of superelevation. Then these centrifugal, empirical formulae that we have seen. Okay. So out of this formulae, we have written, I think so, you have written this formula. Length of the transition curve given by the empirical formula for the plane and rolling terrain, it is 2.7 v square of 1r, and for the mountainous region or the steep terrain, it is taken as the v square of 1r for the mountainous and steep terrain. Okay, so these two formula for calculating the length of the transition curve is given by the empirical formula by IRC. Okay, these formula are given by the IRC. Okay, so whatever the formula that we have seen now, first the rate of change of centrifugal acceleration, second is the rate of change of super elevation, and this is the third one, the empirical formula given by the IRC. So out of this formula, so write down below that note. Hope you have written this formula. If not, write down this third formula. Three formula that we have seen. This one is the third. This formula is the third one. If you have written this, write down the note. Maximum note, maximum of above 3, maximum of above 3 taken as maximum of above 3 is taken as length of transition curve. Okay, maximum of the above three is taken as length of transition curve. This is very important. Write down transition curve. Okay. Maximum of these three value is taken as the length of transition curve. Write down this formula. Also write down the note. What is the maximum of the above three is taken as length of transition curve. We have seen the three formulas. Out of these three formula, whichever formula gives the maximum value, that value is taken as the length of transition curve. Maximum of above three results. Okay, we'll move forward. Then the next point is the shift of curve. This is also very important formula. Write down how much shift of the curve is provided. S is equal to LT square divided by 24R. S is equal to LT square divided by 24R. This much shift to the curve is provided. This is also formula required whenever we are solving the problem. We will see how to find out the shift of the curve depending on this formula at the time of solving the problems. Shift of the transition curve is calculated as LT square divided by 24R. Where LT is the length of transition curve and R is the radius of the curve, that curve in meter. Write down this formula. We will see the problem regarding this in the next, whenever we take the problem on this. Then the next important point is the setback distance or the clearance distance. Okay, the setback distance or the clearance distance. So what is meant by setback distance? It is the distance required from the center line of the horizontal curve to the obstruction on the inner side of the curve to provide the adequate side distance at the horizontal curve. Okay, what this indicates, suppose, to see here, this is our horizontal curve and we are traveling our vehicle from here. Okay, so we see the obstruction at this point. Okay, we see the obstruction at this point. Suppose if there is any building or any construction is here, this construction will block the side distance of the vehicle that is passing from here. Okay, so that reason we should have to maintain the distance, and this distance is taken from center line of the road. Okay, so that the any obstruction or the construction which is constructed here at the inner side of the curve, that should be at the away from the side of the that driver. Okay, so see, I will tell here, I will repeat this. See, this is the side of the driver, and if driver saw the obstruction, he will try to stop his vehicle. So this is the stopping side distance that vehicle cover if he pass this much distance. Okay, so he required the maximum stopping side distance so that the vehicle will not go and strike on that object. Okay, so we need to provide something limitations to the any construction inside this curve, any construction inside this curve, and this line is taken from the center of the curve, and this distance is called as setback distance. Okay, the name only indicate setback. Okay, means whatever you have to construct here, that should be back to the center of curve from the distance something, suppose m. Okay, m from center line m distance, that much should be the space provided to the horizontal curve. Okay, between this space we should not go for any construction of the anything. And on which basis this setback distance is decided? So the setback distance is depends on the side distance, that is SSD, ISD, OSD, stopping side distance, intermediate side distance, overtaking side distance. Okay, depending on that points. Then the radius of curve and the length of the curve. Okay, on these three criteria, the how much setback distance should be provided, that depends. Setback distance means what? By how much distance we should go for the construction of the anything inside this curve. Okay, and this distance is taken from the center of the horizontal curve. Okay, so we will see how much should be the setback distance should be provided on the horizontal curve. We will see that formula, how it should be derived. So see here the formula. See here the formula. So suppose this is the center line of the curve, and from the center line of the curve, the any construction is provided at the distance of m. Okay, this is the distance m provided, and this distance m we have to calculate. So how to calculate the distance m? Suppose this is the curve and the radius of that curve is r. Here it is given. This is the radius of that curve from the, suppose this is the center point of the curve and it is the radius of the curve. Here also, how much should be the radius? From this point to center line. Okay, this much should be the radius of the curve. Okay, now we have to find out this distance m. Okay, I can write this as m. Here I will write, see here, m is equal to total distance. Suppose I will take this as origin O, center point as the origin O. Here the name is given as C at this point, and at this point the name is given as D. Okay, so total distance m is equal to O to D minus C to D. Sorry, O to C. By observing the curve, we can say that by observing the curve, we can see that the distance m is equal to OD minus OC. See here in the curve, this is the total radius r, total radius r, and we have to calculate only this much distance as a m, setback distance. So how we can calculate? Total distance r minus O to C. Okay. This is the radius r from center point to here, and this much is the distance m. Okay, that we have to calculate. So see here, I have taken this as origin O. I am telling this diagram only. Here I have taken the point as a C, and here I have taken point as a D. Okay, and this the total distance is r, that is radius. Okay, so how can I calculate this m value? Total distance OD. Okay, minus this distance OC. Okay. What is OD? OD is nothing but the radius minus we have to calculate the OC distance now. So see here, consider this triangle OC and B. I will erase this part, all this part. It's very simple. लक्ष द्या. So see here the central triangle as C. What I am telling, this is point C. If you have not getting, I will make it large. This is D. And this point is O. This angle is, total angle is alpha. So this is alpha by 2. And this angle will also become as alpha by 2. Okay, total angle is alpha. So alpha by 2, alpha by 2. Now we have to consider the triangle from O, C and B. See, this triangle. Okay, OCB, we have to consider this triangle. Now in this triangle, here is the perpendicular, means what, 90-degree angle is there. So if here is the 90-degree angle, we can say that how to calculate OC. Cos alpha by 2 is equal to, how we calculate the cos? Adjacent side OC divided by hypotenuse as R. Okay. So how the, so OC is equal to how much? R into cos alpha. Okay, OC is equal to how much? R into cos alpha. So if I place this here, R cos alpha by 2. So what the final value will become as R minus R cos alpha by 2. Okay. This is the value of setback distance. Write down this value. Everyone, please write down this value. Give the heading as setback distance. Setback distance. In that case 1 or case A, setback distance, case A, when length of transition curve is less than length of curve. Length of transition curve is less than length of curve. Sorry, LS is the length. LC is the length of curve. LS is the length of side distance. Write down this formula. Write down this formula. Draw this curve. This blue line indicates SD. That is side distance. Your case is LS is less than LC. LS is the side distance. And LC is the length of curve. LS is the side distance. LC is the length of curve. And when the length of side distance is less than length of curve, this is the first case. This is the formula for calculating the setback distance. If you have not get how this R cos alpha by 2 became, I will write here in triangle OCB, in triangle OCB, cos alpha by 2 is equal to OC divided by R. That is OC adjacent side. This is R radius. This is R radius. OC divided by R. Adjacent side divided by radius. So therefore OC is equal to R cos alpha by 2. R cos alpha by 2. How this OC will come? I have written there. If you not get how the OC's value has come as R cos alpha by 2, you can write there. Draw the figure, write down the formula. Let me know if you have done. Completed. Is it completed? Shall we move forward?
Yes, sir.
So this is the first part or the case. Then the length of the SSD or the side distance is less than length of curve. What is meant by length of SSD is less than the curve? I will show you by the diagram. So you will understand, you will better understand. So see here, what is meant by, what this indicate? LS is the side distance, and LC is the length of curve. What this indicate? The side distance is less than length of curve. I will tell here by the diagram. So see here, if this is the curve, okay, and here is our vehicle, and here is our obstruction or any another vehicle, and the vehicle is passing with this length. So this much length vehicle is traveling from here. We saw the obstruction and he will stop here. This will be taken as the length of stopping side distance. Okay, SD, that we have written as SD, that is side distance. Okay, this length is the side distance. This length is the side distance. Okay, but suppose if this curve is not ended here, it is continued up to this. Suppose this curve is not ended here, this is continued up to this, and after this portion there will be the straight line, and after this portion there will be the straight curve. Okay, means what is the length of the curve from this point to this point? Okay, so this will be the length of the curve. Okay, in this case what will happen? The length of curve is greater than the side distance. Okay, the length of curve is greater than the side distance. So this is our first case. Suppose in the second case we have provided this much curve only. So this will be what? Our length of curve. Okay, if we have provided this much distance, and after that we have provided the straight road, That is our normal road, and here is the horizontal. But suppose our vehicle is here, and we see the obstruction here, and this is our side distance. Okay, this is our side distance. So in second case, what will happen? The length of side distance is greater than length of curve. Okay, so we have to study these both cases. When the length of curve is less than side distance, and when the length of curve is greater than side distance. So we have seen the formula for the first case, that is when the length of curve is greater than side distance. Okay, so we will move forward. Okay, and the first formula is for the first one lane only. Okay, whatever we have seen this formula when there is a single road, here it is given. Please note down this. If the road is a single lane road, the side distance is less than curve, as well as when the road is the single lane. So this is the formula. This is formula is when the length side distance length is less than length of curve, and the road is of only single lane. Okay, here is only, suppose this is the road, only single lane road is there. Okay, there is no another lane. So at that point we'll use this formula. Okay, now we will see next case when the length of first case only. In first case only, LS is less than LC, but if the road is of the multi-lane, if the road is of multi-lane, so this is the formula for that. Write down this formula also. This formula is when the LS is less than LC, that is the case 1 only, that is case A. LS is less than LC, but for the multi-lane roads, for multi-lane road, write down this formula. For a multi-lane road, write down this formula. Multi-lane road means what? We have provided the curve. Just write down the formula, no need to go for the figure. Okay, like this. This is the two-lane road. Okay, and vehicle is our traveling from this lane. Vehicle is traveling from this lane. Okay, this is, suppose this is two-lane road. Okay, and C, first write down the formula, I will tell the fact. Setback distance M is equal to R minus into bracket R minus small d. What is small d? See here. Suppose this is the two-lane road, and this distance is a small d. Okay, I will make it a large here. This is first lane. This is second lane. Center line of second lane, and the center of road. this distance is taken as small d. Understood? This is small d. Means half of the one length. That is small d. In short, half of the one length. Small d is nothing but the half of one length. Okay. So see here, whenever we are dealing with the multi-lane road, we always have to consider the vehicle which is in the inner lane. Okay, because what? Suppose the vehicle is traveling from this outer lane, it will have the more length of road. Okay, the outer vehicle have more length of road length to travel, but whatever the vehicle is there in the inner lane, that will have less side distance. Okay, the vehicle which is in the outer lane will have more side distance, but the vehicle which is in the inner lane will have less side distance because it has to travel the less path as it is in the inner lane. So always whenever we are dealing with the multi-lane roads, we always consider the vehicle which is in the inner lane, and we are derive the formula depending on the vehicle is in the inner lane. Okay, so this is the formula for that. Everyone has written, completed. What is D? D is the half of the one length. Okay, D is the half of one length. Now, the second case. See here, for second case, case 2, write down the formula. For LS is greater than LC. LS is greater than LC. For single lane road, write down this formula. Same formula is there. M is equal to R minus R cos alpha by 2. M2 is equal to yes minus LC divided by 2 cos alpha by 2. I do the sum of M1 and M2. Else write down the final formula only. No need to go for the in between formula. Write down the final formula directly. Write down the final formula directly. No need to go for the in between formula. Write down m is equal to r minus d cos alpha by 2. Up to here it is same. Okay, but they have introduced one more term. If the length of transition curve is greater, s minus lc divided by 2 sin alpha by 2. Write down final formula directly. R minus d cos alpha by 2 up to there here the same formula plus s minus lc divided by 2 sin alpha by 2. This is the formula when LS is greater than LC. Okay. Now we'll move forward for our next point is the vertical alignment. Vertical alignment is what? Vertical curves. Okay. So vertical, now we are dealing up to now we are dealing with the horizontal curves or the horizontal alignment. Now we will deal with our last point of the chapter, that is the vertical alignment. In the vertical alignment of the road consists of the gradients, straight line or the vertical planes. Okay, and the vertical curves. The vertical alignment is usually drawn as a profile, which is a graph with the elevation as the vertical axis and the horizontal distance along with the center line of the road as the horizontal axis. Just as a circular curve, it is used to connect the horizontal straight stretches of the road. Vertical curves connect the two gradients. When these two curves meet, they form either convex or concave. The former is also called summit curve, while later called a valley curve. This section covers the discussion on the gradient also and the summit curve. Okay, what is meant by alignment? Vertical alignment is nothing but whenever we are dealing with the vertical alignment, we have to consider the when the straight line path having the gradient when it meets with the positive or negative gradients. Okay, there are different types of kinds of gradient. It may be positive gradient, it may be negative gradient, it may be combination of the both. Okay, it may suppose what is this? This is a ascending. This is descending. Means what? Up here is a positive gradient. After that, it is negative gradient. It might be the case like straight line, positive gradient, straight line. Okay, this may be there. Only positive gradient may be there. There might be case of negative gradient, then positive gradient, then straight line. Okay, negative gradient, positive gradient, then straight line. There might be the case of straight line, negative gradient, straight line. Okay. Likewise, there are various types of the curves, vertical alignments that we need to design or we need to go for. Such type of curve are called as summit curve, and such type of curves are called as valley curve. Okay, this is called a valley curve. This is called a summit curve. Okay. And we have to design all these type of curves in the vertical alignments. So we will see one by one. Gradient in that first point is the gradient. Okay, in the vertical curves, we need to understand first the gradient. So what is meant by the gradient? Gradient is nothing but rise or fall along with the length of the road with respect to the horizontal level. Okay, there may be the rise, there may be a fall. The rise or the fall along the length of the road with respect to the horizontal level. Okay, that is called as the gradient. While aligning the highway, the gradient is decided for the designing the vertical curves. Okay, whenever we are dealing with the vertical curves, we need to understand the gradient concept. And also we need to understand how much gradient should be provided. That is the maximum percentage of gradient should be provided, how much should be the minimum percentage of gradient, depending on the terrain. Whether it is a rolling terrain, whether it is the stiff terrain, whether it is the level plain, mountainous region. Okay, depending on the terrain condition, we need to understand the what type of the gradient that we need to provide on that curve. Okay, before the finalizing the gradient, construction cost, vehicular operation cost, practical problems in the site also has to be considered. Okay, whenever we are dealing with the designing the gradient, we need to understand before finalizing the gradient, whatever the construction cost for that gradient, what will be the vehicle operating cost if we build that gradient. Okay, that problems or the practical in it, practical problem will be there that we also need to understand whenever we are designing the gradient. Usually steep gradients are avoided as far as possible because for the difficulty to climb and increase the construction cost. Okay, whenever we are dealing with the gradient, we have to avoid the steep gradients. Okay, whenever we are dealing with the gradients, we have to avoid the steep gradients. Steep gradients means what? Sudden change in the gradient. Okay, steep means what? Sudden change in the gradient. We have to avoid such gradient because whenever we are dealing with such type of the gradient, okay, suppose this is our road, this is a stiff sudden gradient change. So whenever we are dealing with such type of the gradient, it will increase the construction cost as well as it will increase the vehicle operating cost. Suppose this is the heavy vehicle coming from this side and need to climb this gradient. So it will take it will take more vehicular operational cost. Okay, it will feel the difficult to travel or climb this gradient. So whenever possible, whenever it is possible, we should have to avoid the steep gradients. The effect of long steep gradient on the vehicular speed is considerable. This is particularly important in the road where the proportions of the heavy vehicle is significant. Okay. Whenever we are dealing with the gradient, we need to understand whether we have to provide the steep gradient. Okay, whenever it is possible, we have to avoid the steep gradient because it will greatly affect on the vehicular speed as well as the vehicular operating cost of the heavy vehicle that are traveling on that road. Due to the restrictive side distance at the uphill gradients, the speed of a traffic is often controlled by these heavy vehicles. Okay. There is also restriction for the side distance on the vertical curves. We have seen the video also in one of our lecture. We have also seen the video how the vertical curves affects on the side distance. Suppose we are traveling with our vehicle on the straight line, suddenly there is a hill portion, and suppose here is something obstruction is there and we are climbing the road. Okay, we are not able to see that obstruction of whenever we are traveling on the rising or climbing the road. We will observe that obstruction when there is a side distance is very less. The side distance is very less. At that point, we will observe the obstruction and simply we hit that obstruction. And there will be the cases of accident. Because what? Because in the rising gradient or in the vertical terrain, there is the less amount of side distance. There is the less amount of side distance. So it will arise as the accidental cases. So we also have to think about that particular point. How to avoid this? We can avoid this by providing the rolling gradient or minimum gradient. If we provide the steep gradient, it will definitely block the side distance. Okay. As a result, not only the operating cost of the vehicle are increased, but also the capacity of the road will have to be reduced. Okay, the gradient not only it affects on the vehicular operating cost, also it affects on the capacity of the roads as well. So it is very important whenever we are designing the gradient to consider these cases or these particular points that we have to keep in our mind. Further, due to the high differential speed between the heavy and the light vehicle and between the uphill and the downhill gradient, accidents abound in gradient. Okay. There is a very prior cases of the accident in the vertical gradients, because there will be the increase in the road whenever we are going on the downstream, and when there is a obstruction of the side distance whenever we are climbing the road. Okay. If there is sudden fall, there will be the increase in the speed. If there is increase in the speed, it will take too much time to stop the vehicle. Okay. If there is a decrease in the gradient and we are moving with the speed, it will helps the vehicle to increase the speed. Okay. Descending gradient will helps the vehicle to increase the speed, and ultimately it is difficult to stop the vehicle with that much speed. So it will also arise the case of accident. Also, if we are climbing the gradient and if there is a sudden any obstruction will be there, it blockages the side distance. So there will be the cases of accident. Okay. So whenever we are designing the vertical curves, we have to take very much care. Representation of the gradient, how we present the gradients. A positive gradient or the ascending gradient is denoted as plus n. See here how we represent the gradient. Whenever there is a positive gradient or ascending gradient like this, okay, it will be taken as plus n, and whenever there is a negative gradient like this, descending, that is taken as negative. And if there is ascending, it is taken as positive gradient. Okay. The deviation angle n is when two grades meets the angle which measures the change in the direction and is given by the algebraic difference between the two. That is what the deviation angle capital N is given as algebraic difference. Means what? Suppose this is the rising gradient and it meets with the falling gradient. From here it is negative. Okay. From here it is positive. And suppose I have drawn the tangent to this. This angle is taken as capital N, and this angle is called as deviation angle. And simply this angle deviation is taken as algebraic sum. Sorry, algebraic difference. Algebraic difference, that is N1 minus N2. Okay, what is N1? This is plus. Minus, what is N2? It is negative, descending gradient, minus N2. So finally it will become as N1 minus minus, it will becomes plus N2, like this way. Okay. So how to calculate the deviation angle? Deviation angle is nothing but the algebraic sum of the gradient. It may be falling gradient, it may be rising gradient. Okay. Simply we have to take the algebraic difference, not a sum. It is algebraic difference. That is n is equal to n1 minus n2. n1 may be positive, may be negative. n2 may be positive, may be negative. Okay. Understood how the deviation angle is taken? Deviation angle is just we have to go for the algebraic sum. Like what? I will give second example. Suppose this is a falling gradient and it meets with the straight line. This is falling gradient and it meets with the straight line. Okay, so this is negative. First gradient is negative. Second gradient is 0 as it is straight line. So what is will be n? Capital N is equal to n1 minus n2 as we take. What is n1 here? Negative minus n minus what is the n2 is 0. So final become minus n only. Like this we are calculating the deviation angle. Just we have to go for the algebraic difference. Okay. Now we have seen the deviation angle. Now you see how this n represented. Okay. For example, so this is 1 in n slope is there. See here, if suppose there is a slope which is 1 in n, it is taken as 3.33%. 1 in n means what? 3.33%. 100 divided by 30, it will become 3.333%. Okay. So like this way, the gradients are indicated. N is equal to. So n is generally indicated as 1 in 30 or n is equal to 3.33%. In this two way, the slope is indicated. It might be written as 1 in a or it might be written as 3.33%. Like this. Suppose I have given as n is equal to 1 in 20. How will it will become in the percentage? How it will become? 1 in 20 means how much percent? Can anyone tell? In the percentage, how much it will be there? Is suppose 5%. I can write n as 1 in 20. I can write n as the 5%. Like this way, I will represent the slope value, okay, gradient value. Now you will see how much the gradient that should be provided on what kind of road. For different kinds of road, there is the different types of gradient that we provide. So see here, the types of gradients are given here. The many studies have shown that the gradient up to the 7% can have the considerable effect on the speed of the passenger's car. Okay, they have done the various kinds of the study, and by the different kinds of the study, they have understood that if we provide, we can go up to the 7%. We can go up to the 7%. This is okay for the passengers. Okay. One on the contrary, the speed of the heavy vehicle are considerably reduced when the long gradients as a 2% is adopted. Okay, for the heavy vehicle, it is 2% gradient is adopted. Generally, for the heavy vehicle, 2% gradient. For the long gradient is taken. Okay, that is the flat gradient. 2% means it is the flat gradient that are provided generally for the heavy vehicles. Okay, although the flatter gradients are desirable, it is evident that the cost of the construction will also be very high. Okay, therefore the IRC has specified the desirable gradient for each terrain. However, it may not be economically viable to adopt such gradients in the certain locations. Steeper gradients are permitted for the short duration. Different types of the grades are discussed below, and the recommended types of the gradients for each type of the terrain and type of gradient is given in the table. Okay, they have done the several studies, done the several experiments. Depending on that, they have designed one table By that table, they have told that what type of terrain we can go for the which type of the gradient. Okay, so this is very important table. Many number of times this table is asked for the MCQ. Please write down this table. Make this table. Make 4 columns and 4 rows. Make 4 column and 4 rows. In that first column, write down terrain. It may be plain or rolling, hilly and steep. And for that, ruling, limiting, and exceptional. Ruling terrain is also called as design terrain, or ruling gradient is also called as design gradient. Ruling gradient is also called as design gradient. Limiting gradient is also called as, limiting means what? Maximum. कोणतीही गोष्ट आपण लिमिट मध्ये करतो म्हणजे काय, ते मॅक्सिमम असते. Limiting gradient means what? Maximum gradient. Write down this table, everyone. And the last one is the exceptional gradient. First is the ruling gradient. It is also called as design gradient. Second is the limiting gradient. Limiting is what? Maximum. Limiting gradient is also called as the maximum gradient. And the last one is the exceptional gradient. Write down this table. This is a very important table. This is a very important table. Many times this table is asked for MCQ. You have to remember these values. It might be asked like, suppose this is 3.3%. It may be asked like 1 in 30. 5% means 1 in 20. 6.7 means 1 in 16.7, like this. Okay, or 20, 18. Like these values might be there. You can also you should also know these such values like 140 like that. Likewise value also you should have to remember. फक्त कोणते जर एक व्हॅल्यू लक्षात ठेवा. Rest you can derive. 3.3% means 1 in 30. Likewise, you should be able to derive. Just remember 3.3, 5, 6, 5, 6, 7, 6, 7, 8. Like this. झालं का लिहून? So here, what is ruling gradient? The ruling gradient is nothing but it is also called as the design gradient, as we have written now. Ruling gradient is also called as design gradient. It is a maximum gradient that which the designer attempt to design the vertical profile of the road. Okay. What is this ruling gradient? Whenever we are designing the road, we have to go up to the ruling gradient. Okay. Or we have to give the permission of the road to provide up to the ruling gradient. At max, we have to go up to the limiting gradient. Okay. But we should also avoid the exceptional gradient. Okay. This depends on the terrain, length of the gradient, speed, pulling power of the vehicle, and the presence of the horizontal curve. Okay. On which basis we are deciding the gradient? The type of gradient is depends on the terrain of that road area, length of that gradient that we have to provide, then the speed of the vehicle, then the pulling power of that vehicle. Okay, that pulling power, that is horsepower of the vehicle, depends on the vehicle type, and the presence of the horizontal curve, whether there is a horizontal curve. Okay, because at the same time, suppose we have to provide the gradient and suppose the same time it is the horizontal curve, then that will take the very difficult case for the vehicle operation condition. Okay, it will increase the vehicle operation cost. If there is a gradient as well as the horizontal curve, it will increases the vehicular operation cost. That we also we have to see. In the flatter terrain, it may be possible to provide the flat gradient, but in the hilly terrain, there is not economical and sometimes not possible also. Okay, in the flatter region, we can go for, but in the hilly area, it is it is not economical, and also it is very difficult to construct the flatter terrain in the hilly area. So the ruling gradient is adopted by the designer by considering the particular speed as the design speed, and for the design vehicle the standard dimension. But our country has a heterogeneous traffic, and hence it is not possible to lay down the precise standards for the country as a whole. Okay, because this standard is not adopted in the whole country, because our country has very heterogeneous traffic conditions. On the different region, there is a different traffic condition. So depending on that traffic condition, also we have to keep in mind. Hence, the IRC recommended some values for the drilling graders for the different types of terrain, and these values are we have written in the table. Then the limiting gradient, gradient is adopted when the ruling gradient results in the enormous increase in the cost of construction. Okay, this gradients comes in picture when the ruling gradients will goes the cost of the ruling gradient will go on increasing. At that time, we have to go for the limiting gradient. On the rolling terrain and the hilly terrain, it may be frequently necessary to adopt the limiting gradient. Okay, and this is taken on the mainly on the rolling terrain and the hilly terrain, limiting terrain. Okay, because in the hilly terrain there is might be the chances of goes on increasing the cost due to the rolling gradient. Okay, so at that point generally we prefer the limiting gradient. But the length of the limiting gradient stretches should be limited and must be sandwiched by either by straight road or the easier cuts. Okay. Also, we have to think about the length of the road because in the hilly area there is a much restrictions on the length of the road. So we have to also go for the limited length of the road. Also, we have to consider. Then the third one is the exceptional gradient. Exceptional gradient are very steeper gradient given in the unavoidable situations. Only thing when there is the unavoidable situation will arises, at that point only we have to go for the exceptional gradient. Otherwise, we should not go for the exceptional gradient as it is very steeper gradient. They should be limited for the short stretches, not exceeding about the 100 meters of the stretch. Okay, and also we have to keep in mind this much gradient should be of the less distance. Okay, we have to provide the less distance of the exceptional gradient. It should not extend beyond the 100 meters. Okay. In the mountainous and the steep terrain, successive exceptional gradients must be separated by the minimum 100-meter length of the gentle gradient. At the height prevent the gradient restricted to the 2.5%. Okay. So see here, whenever we need to provide the exceptional gradient in the hilly areas, okay, if there is no other option, and we have to provide the exceptional gradient in the hilly areas, and there is a more distance required for providing the exceptional gradient. So in that condition, what we have to do, if the length of the exceptional gradient is increasing, we have to provide the exceptional gradient with less than 100 meters of length. Then we have to provide some flatter gradient. Then we have to provide the exceptional gradient. Likewise, we have to go for, because if you provide the continuous exceptional gradient, then there is the very difficult situation for the vehicles. Okay, so we have to go for the exceptional gradient, then some flatter gradient, then we have to go for the exceptional gradient. Likewise, we have to provide the exceptional gradient in the unavoidable situations only. Okay. Then the critical length of the grade, the maximum length of the ascending gradient, which a loaded truck can operate with the undue reduction in the speed is called as critical length of the gradient. Okay, what is meant by the critical length? This is the maximum length in the ascending gradient. Means what? It is whenever the any loaded truck or the heavy vehicle is climbing on the ascending gradient, at that time the loaded truck can operate without any undue reduction in the speed. Okay, it should be go smoothly with the same speed on that length or on that load. That much length of that grade is called as critical length. Okay, means what? Suppose any loaded truck is there and that truck is traveling on that grade, and that truck have to travel with the smooth and same and constant speed on that grade. Okay, if it is there, that length of that grade particularly is called as critical length. At a speed of 25 kmph is a reasonable value. This value depends on the size, power, load, gradability of the truck, initial speed, final desirable maximum speed, etc. Okay, on the gradient, that is provided the 25 kmph is considered as a reasonable speed of the any particular vehicle, and this speed is designed on the basis of the value of the this values depends on the size of that vehicle, power of the particular vehicle, load of the vehicle that are carrying, then the gradient ability, truck, initial speed of that vehicle, final desirable maximum speed of the vehicle. Depending on these all criteria, it is desirable to provide 25 kmph speed is taken as the reasonable value on the gradient. So the next term is grade compensation. This is very important, as I have told now only. Suppose a condition arises where there is also we have to provide the gradient and also there is the horizontal curve. Okay, this is very difficult or critical situation if there is a grade as well as if there is the horizontal curve. This will increase the vehicle operating cost of that particular vehicle. Also, it requires too much power to haul the material. Okay, so at this situation, we have to compromise or we have to compensate the gradient. Okay, in such a situation, we have to compensate the gradient. In what situation? Suppose we have to provide the grade as well as there is a horizontal curve. Okay, in such a situation, we have to compensate the gradient. This condition is known as grade compensation. Okay, this condition is known as grade compensation. And the IRC gave the following specifications for the grade compensation. These are very important specifications. The grade compensation is not required for the grade flatter than 4% because the loss of tractive force is negligible. Okay, the grade compensation is calculated by the formula 30 plus R divided by R in percentage, where R is the radius of the horizontal curve in meter, and the maximum grade compensation is limited to the 75 divided by R%. Okay, so this is the formula for calculating the grade compensation. Everyone, please write down the heading as grade compensation. Write down the heading as grade compensation. Grade compensation. These are very important conditions. These are very important conditions, so that I have told you to write these conditions. Write down in that. IRC gave the following specifications. IRC gave the following specifications for the grade compensation. For the grade compensation. In that, first one is very important. Number of times this is asked. Grade compensation is not required. First is the grade compensation is not required for the grades. For the grades flatter than 4%. Grade compensation is not required for the grades flatter than 4% because loss of the tractive force is negligible in this case. Okay. If the gradient is less than 4%, it is not required to provide the grade compensation. If there is a gradient more than 4%, we have to provide the grade compensation. When there is a gradient as well as when there is a horizontal curve. Okay, in that situation, we have to provide the grade compensation. Write down the formula for that. Grade compensation is equal to grade compensation. This is equal to 30 plus R 30 plus R whole divided by R. Thirty plus R divided by R. This is the formula for calculating grade compensation. And the maximum grade compensation is limited to 75 divided by R. 75 divided by R. Below that, make a star point and write compensated gradient is equal to compensated gradient is equal to given gradient minus grade compensation minus GC means what? Grade compensation. Or if you want, write down in grade compensation. This is very important. Once the example has asked for MPSC on this condition, they have given the grade compensation as well as they have given the given gradient, and they have asked the compensated gradient. The compensated gradient is equal to given gradient minus grade compensation. Means what? Suppose this is our given gradient and we have compensated this much gradient. So finally, this will be our final compensated gradient. This is our compensated grade, that is GC, grade compensation. This is given gradient. And finally, we have provided this much gradient only, that is compensated gradient. That is our compensated gradient, like this. Okay. They have given the gradient. They have also given the radius of the curve. By that, we have to calculate the grade compensation. And finally, we have to go for given gradient minus grade compensation. We will get the compensated gradient. Write down this formula also. This is very important formula. Compensated gradient is equal to given gradient minus grade compensation. Compensated gradient is equal to given gradient minus grade compensation. Given gradient minus grade compensation. Compensated gradient is equal to given gradient minus grade compensation. Okay. So this is how we calculate the compensated gradient. Okay. So these are very important formulae regarding the grade compensation that we must know. Now we'll move forward. Our next point is the summit curve. Okay. Next point is the summit curve. The summit curve are the vertical curves with the gradient upwards. Okay. These are the curve with the gradient upwards. They are formed when two gradients meet as illustrated in the figure in any of the following four ways. Okay. So these are the four conditions are given whenever these four conditions are there, when it forms the summit curve. What are these four conditions? We will see. The first one is the when the positive gradient meets another positive gradients. Okay. Summit curve happens when, see here how it becomes. First condition, the positive gradients meets another positive gradients. Means what? This is rising, that is positive gradient, and it meets with the another positive gradient here. Positive. So this will become as a summit curve. Positive gradient, suppose n1 plus, this is also plus, suppose this is n2 gradient. Okay, so this will form the summit curve. This is first condition number one. If you want, you can write. Second condition, C, when the positive gradients meet the flatter gradient. Okay, what is mean this? What is mean by this? Positive gradients means what? This is rising. Okay, this is plus, suppose n1, positive gradient. Okay, positive gradient meets the flat gradient. Means what? After that there is a flat round. Means where this is n2 and this is equal to 0. Okay, flat road means what? There is no gradient. So finally, what the angle? This n is what? Deviation angle will become. As we know, n is the algebraic difference. Okay, plus n minus 0 is equal to plus n only. So that will be our final deviation angle. Okay, positive n1. Like this we have to calculate. So what is second case? The second case is when the positive gradient meets the flatter gradient. Third case. The third case is when an ascending gradient meets the descending gradient. Ascending is what? Positive. Suppose this is n1, that is ascending gradient, and then it meets with the n2, that is descending gradient from here. Okay, this one will become as plus n1, and this will become as minus n2. Okay, so what is our formula for deviation angle? N is equal to n1 minus n2, that is algebraic difference. What is n1? That is plus n. What is n2? That is minus n2. What is plus n1 minus minus, it will become as plus n2. Okay, so finally this will be the grade component, the deviation angle. It is given here, n1 plus n2. It might be asked like, what condition will give the maximum deviation angle? Okay, which is the condition which gives the maximum deviation angle? So in this case, the maximum deviation angle will give up. Okay, so the case when the ascending gradient meets with the another descending gradient means what? First one is the positive and second one is the negative. This condition will give the maximum deviation angle. Let's see which condition will give the maximum deviation angle when the first gradient is ascending and second gradient is descending. This condition will give the maximum angle of deviation. Okay. Now you see the last condition, fourth one. D condition when descending gradient meets another descending gradient. So see here, first is the descending gradient and another also is the descending. Means what? First is the minus n1 and second is the minus n2. So what is our formula for calculating deviation angle? Deviation angle n is equal to n1 minus n2, algebraic difference. Here what is n1? It is minus n1. Minus what is n2? It is also minus. So finally it will become as minus n, and here n2 is a positive. Minus minus plus is what? Minus n1 plus n2. That is also can be written as n2 minus n1. So this will be our final angle of deviation, which is given here. See, angle of deviation. Okay, this is how it is calculated. So this is the fourth condition when the summit curve forms, when the descending gradients meets with the another descending gradients. It will also forms the summit curve. Then we see the types of summit curves. If else write down these four conditions. Write down heading as a summit curve. Write down heading as a summit curve. Write down these four conditions. Give the heading as summit curve. Give the heading as summit curve. Summit curves are vertical curves. Summit curves are vertical curves with the gradient upward. Summit curve are vertical curves with the gradient upward. They are formed when two gradient meets. Two gradient meets in any following four ways. In any of the following four ways. Now the first condition. There are four ways to form the summit curves. In that, write down first one. When positive gradient meets another positive gradient. Positive gradient meets another positive gradient. If you want, draw the figure. Write down the formula for angle of deviation. Capital N is equal to N1 minus N2. Just draw the rough figure. No need to go for the accuracy or no need to go for very advanced. Just for your understanding, draw the figure. Write down the formula for angle of deviation as N1 minus N2. Draw the rough figure. Angle of deviation given as N1 minus N2. But angle of deviation is formed by the tangents which are drawn. See here, at N1 there is one tangent for the first curve, and at N2 there is a second tangent at N2. Okay, the angle of deviation is formed by the tangents. Write down the second case when the positive gradients meets a flat gradient. Just draw the rough figure. It do not take much time. Third case, when as ascending gradient meets descending gradient. Ascending gradient meets descending gradient. You should know how the deviation angles are calculated because it will be there in the formula for calculating the length of the summit curve. So you need to understand how the deviation angle is calculated as it is required for calculating the length of summit curve. Third case, fourth case now, when the descending gradient meets another descending gradient. Fourth case, descending gradient meets another descending gradient, that is n is equal to n2 minus n1 deviation angle. Then the types of the summit curves. Many curves formed can be used as a satisfactory result. The common practice, it has been parabolic curve and a summit curve. Okay, this is very important. What kind of the curve that we are provided as a summit curve? So in the most of the cases, the parabolic curve is considered as the most suitable curve for the summit curve. Okay, write down note. In common practice, it has been used. The common practice has been used parabolic curve in a summit curve. Parabolic curve in a summit curve. And also, whenever we are using the parabolic curve, generally in the summit curve, we are using the square parabola. We are using the square parabola. In the summit curve, we are using the square parabola. This is primarily because of the case with it can be laid out as well as the allowing the comfortable transition from the one gradient to the another. Okay, why this is provided? Because in the summit curve, the square parabola will give the comfortable conditions whenever the vehicle is traveling from one gradient to the another gradient. It will give the comfortable condition to travel from one gradient to the another gradient. Although the circular curve offers the equal sight distance at every point on the curve for very small deviation angle, the circular curves and the parabolic curves are almost concurrent. Okay, because the circular curve will give the most probable most when the equal side distance at every point. Okay, circular curve gives the equal side distance at every point with the small deviation of the angle. Okay, but the circular curve as well as the parabolic curve will give the almost these both are the concurrent curves. Furthermore, the use of the parabola curve were found to be give the excellent riding comfort. Okay, they have done the several experiments. On the basis of that, they have come to know that whenever we are providing the parabola, it will give the excellent riding comfort to the vehicle or to the passengers. Okay, so ultimately we have decided to go for the square parabola for the whenever we are designing the summit curves. Okay. Design consideration in the determining the type of the length of the vertical curve. The design consideration are the comfort and the security of the driver and the appearance of the profile alignment. Okay. Whenever we are designing the summit curve, we have to take the certain things we have to keep in mind. What are these things? We have to think about the security of the driver. We have to think about the comfortable of the driver. Okay, comfortable condition of the passengers. Also, we have to think about how the alignment looks like. Okay, all these things we have to keep in mind whenever we are designing the summit curves. Among these, side distance required for the safety is important on the summit curve. The stopping side distance or the absolute minimum side distance should be provided on this curve, and where the overtaking is not prohibited, overtaking side distance or the intermediate side distance should be provided as far as possible. Okay. Among these all conditions, what the condition we have to think about whenever designing with consideration are there? The comfort of the driver, security of the driver, and also the appearance of the road. Okay. But among these all, we have to think more or we have to concentrate more about the security of the driver. Okay, because this is very important to follow the security to that driver. Okay, then when the fast moving vehicle travels along the summit curve, there is a less discomfort to the passenger. This is because the centrifugal force will be acting upward while the vehicle is negotiating the summit curve, which is against the gravity, and hence the part of the type of pressure is relieved. Okay, whenever we are traveling with the summit curve with the providing curve, this is because the centrifugal force will be acting upward because okay, so it will give the comfortable conditions when we provide the parabolic curve on the summit curve. If you go for the another, it will give the discomfortable conditions. Okay, so we also have to think how about the comfortable conditions. of the passengers that are moving on that curve. Okay. Then we have to see the formula. Then we have to see the formula. Okay. The length of the summit curve. The length of the summit curve is provided by on depending on the two situations. Okay. Two situations can be rise depending on the uphill and the downhill gradient. Okay. So what are these two situations? First is when the length of the curve is greater than the side distance, and second, the length of curve is greater than the side distance. Okay. So write down these two conditions. Write down the heading as length of summit curve. Length of summit curve. Or else, as time is up, you will see how the length of the summit curve is calculated in the next lecture. You can, as there is time is running up, you see the rest of the thing or rest of the part in the next lecture. Please write down your attendance in the chat box. Everyone, please write down your attendance to the chat box.